needed, and the prognosis is overall favorable. That's the Ed Show. I'm Ed Schultz, and I doggone it, I'll have to show you this thing that I've got tomorrow night because I'm running out of time. Rachel, I think it's actually breaking news that the Republicans have agreed on something, and I'll tell you about it tomorrow night when we have more time.
That's the best cliffhanger ever, Ed.
I think you're really going to like it, though. It has something to do with golf. Okay. That's all I'm going to say.
That I can believe. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it. And thanks to you at home for staying with us for the next hour. Now is the time on MSNBC where we praise CNN. Well, we praise somebody who used to work for CNN. In 2005, the Chamber of Commerce held its annual press conference to say what they were going to work on for that year. And at that press conference in 2005, the head of the Chamber of Commerce walked up to the microphone and said this: Eliot Spitzer's approach is to walk in and say, we're going to make a deal, and you're going to pay $600 million to the state, and you're going to get rid of this person and that person, and if you don't do it by tonight, we're going to indict the company. The head of the Chamber of Commerce continued, quote, it is the most egregious and unacceptable form of intimidation we have seen in this country in modern times. Eliot Spitzer, the most intimidating thing in all of America, in all of modern history. Out of everything, it's Eliot Spitzer. To the Chamber of Commerce, it really was. By that point in time, Eliot Spitzer was on a tear. He had figured out that Wall Street firms were telling suckers all over the country to buy stock in certain companies. Not because those companies were a good thing to buy stock in, but because Wall Street was essentially taking money from those companies in order to say that. Give us your investment banking business or whatever, and yeah, we'll tell suckers all over the country, running some retirement fund somewhere or something, we'll tell suckers everywhere to buy your stupid stock. The Wall Street firm gets whatever business that lousy company wants to kick back to Wall Street. The company gets people to buy its lousy stock, and the people who get stuck paying the bill is like your Uncle Jim, the toll taker in Cleveland, and his pension fund that they thought they'd invest this year with all those smart young guys on Wall Street. It was a total scam. And Wall Street was so confident they were never going to get caught for it that they would openly talk about these scams they were pulling in company emails. Eliot Spitzer was New York's attorney general at the time. He used his power as attorney general to get copies of these firms' super incriminating emails. And then when the firms came to him wanting to settle this quietly, we'll just pay a fine, just don't tell anybody we've been doing this, don't hurt our reputations. Instead, Eliot Spitzer called a press conference and released the emails publicly. Right, so like, here's the Merrill Lynch report saying some internet company called LifeMinders, which doesn't exist anymore, LifeMinders is quote, an attractive investment. And then here's the Merrill Lynch email from earlier that month where the same guy says, quote, I can't believe what a piece of thing that rhymes with bit, that thing is. So attractive investment or piece of thing that rhymes with bit. That was for LifeMinders, right? So it's one thing that they're marketing to the public. It is another thing that they are saying among themselves. You remember Infospace.com? That same firm, Merrill Lynch, had Infospace up on its favored 15 list. These are our top 15 recommended stock buys. And while they had it on their favored 15 list, Spitzer had the Merrill Lynch internal email calling Infospace a, quote, piece of junk. They did the same thing with a firm called GoTo.com, where they hyped GoTo.com. Buy this stock. Hey, suckers in Topeka, buy this stock. Well, here was the internal email at Merrill Lynch saying, what's so interesting about GoTo.com except for the money we're getting from them for us being their bank? The analyst responding by email, nothing. So yeah, Merrill Lynch wanted to keep all of this stuff quiet. They wanted to pay a little fine and make all this stuff go away. Eliot Spitzer instead dragged them through it publicly, exposed what they had been doing, and then he did not enter into negotiations with Merrill Lynch about how to make this thing go away. He called Merrill Lynch and he told them, you know what? It's $100 million. It's a $100 million fine that you're going to pay. No negotiations. I want this settled tonight. That was the negotiation.
The giant brokerage house, Merrill Lynch, today agreed to pay a $100 million fine and change the way it pays its stock analysts to settle charges those analysts misled ordinary investors. New York's Attorney General Eliot Spitzer had charged Merrill Lynch with rating some stocks much too highly. so they could get investment banking business from those same companies. Spitzer said today the settlement will change that.
So Merrill Lynch paid the $100 million, and the piece of rhymes with bit, piece of junk, nothing analyst who was tied to all of these things they got caught for, that analyst got charged with securities fraud, ended up getting banned for life. Banned for life from ever working in the securities industry again. He also had to pay a $4 million fine personally. You know where that guy ended up, incidentally? You ever seen that website, Business Insider? That's that guy. He doesn't work on Wall Street, though. As I said, he's been banned for life. This guy, different guy altogether. This is Bernie Ebbers. Bernie Ebbers is now federal prisoner number 56022-054. According to local reports at the time, when Bernie Ebbers drove himself to prison, when he had to report to prison a few years back, he drove up to prison in his Mercedes. At one point, Bernie Ebbers was number 174 on the Forbes 400 list of the richest people in America. Bernie Ebbers owned things like the biggest ranch in Canada. Bernie Ebbers owned more than 500,000 acres of timber in Mississippi and Tennessee and Louisiana and Alabama. He actually bought all that 500,000 acreage at once. He bought a swath of Alabama and of all those other states all at once. He was able to do that because Citigroup gave him a mortgage. Citigroup gave him a mortgage for $1 billion. Billion with a B, $1 billion mortgage. Now, Bernie had this sweet deal going on with Citigroup where he would do all of his company's business through Citigroup, right? And in exchange, Citigroup told all the suckers in the country that they should buy stock in Bernie. They also hooked him up with sure bet guaranteed money deals. They'd let him buy stock in companies that are about to go public. It was basically guaranteed money. But Citigroup would give Bernie a special deal, special access on those stocks, on that essentially as guaranteed money. Now, if you were a normal customer of Citigroup, like, hypothetically, say the Bakersfield City Employees Retirement Fund, you didn't get a deal like that. You didn't get in on those guaranteed money stock deals. You have to be a guy like Bernie, because Bernie is kicking back. So as they are telling all of these suckers in America to buy stock in Bernie, even though they know that Bernie's kind of a fraud and his company's kind of falling apart, they're also giving him this sweet deal on these IPOs. They're also giving him a $1 billion mortgage. And what does he want the $1 billion mortgage for? It's so he can cash out. So he can put all of his money into a nice hard asset like, say, Alabama, so he doesn't have to sell off his soon-to-be worthless stock, which, of course, would alert all the suckers in the world that his soon-to-be worthless stock was soon-to-be worthless, that it was about to tank. But now Bernie's a prisoner. His earliest release date is July 2028, at which point Bernie will be 87 years old. The guy at Citigroup who hooked up Bernie with the free money hot deals in those companies, those free money deals that nobody else could get because they weren't kicking back money like Bernie, that guy did it for Bernie. He did it for a bunch of other companies, too. Now he doesn't do it for anybody. Here's the SEC press release where they announced that Jack Grubman will be censured and permanently barred from the securities industry and will pay a total of $15 million to settle charges against him. Barred for life. The case against Jack Grubman, the case against Bernie, ultimately did get settled at the federal level, as you saw there. But where it started was with Eliot Spitzer.
Now to more corporate leaders on the hot seat. New York's Attorney General is suing 5 telecommunications executives who he's accusing of earning millions in personal profits in a corrupt stock deal.
Now, that was just a couple of months after the Eliot Spitzer press conference that exposed the piece of rhymes with bit emails, right? Same year. He was on a tear. Eliot Spitzer also made public the allegations that ratings for companies were being traded for getting the children of Wall Street tycoons into good preschools in New York City. That's a deal. There were the charges he brought against AIG and Marsh & McLennan and another insurance company called ACE. Charges saying that they were tricking people, essentially, into thinking that those 3 companies were competing with each other to give customers the best deal when really they were sort of working it amongst themselves in order to divvy up the business. The nice detail in that set of allegations was that the dad ran AIG and the other 2 companies in this supposed collusion deal, the other 2 companies, Marsh & McLennan and ACE, were run by dad's 2 sons. Nice. It is now impossible to Google Eliot Spitzer. and avoid getting drowned in things about his CNN show being canceled and his prostitution scandal and his wife going to the press conference where he announced that he was resigning because of the horrible prostitution scandal, right? But if you can, if you are an advanced Googler enough that you can, say, find information about Rick Santorum even at work, or you know how to set date parameters on your Google search, you can set date parameters so that you can avoid all of the post-Attorney General stuff about Eliot Spitzer. And if you do that, what you get back to is the absolute terror with which Eliot Spitzer was regarded by people on Wall Street who were not used to getting caught for criminal behavior. Publications like The Street would just lead their articles about Spitzer with stuff like New York Attorney General Eliot Spitzer, otherwise known as Wall Street's Dragon Slayer, wielded his legal sword today. And of course, that is hilarious in light of the prostitution scandal now. But at the time, there was nothing hookery about a statement like that at all. Wall Street was being perp-walked for stuff they were used to getting away with. They were being perp-walked by a crusading attorney general who they hated for it.
It is hard to overstate the magnitude of the betrayal. People who work their entire lives to save, to invest, to pay for their children's education were being told to invest in stocks that Merrill Lynch knew were going to decline in value. The sad thing is that for many, many years, people on Wall Street have known this has been going on. Nobody has done anything about it.
There has been massive wrongdoing, and we are going to act aggressively to address it.
Retail investors know there is no guaranteed return in the market. They know there is risk, but the one thing they deserve is honest advice and fair dealing.
And then he became governor of New York, and then there was the hooker scandal, and then there was the horrible resignation, and then there was the exile, and then there was the show on CNN that did really badly.